episode of Oregon Life.
Thanks for
Right?
watching this episode
of Oregon Life.
Hello, I'm Frank Caruso, producer of Oregon Life, and welcome to a brand new episode. We're at the historic Pump House today, and we'll be talking to some artists as they come up, talk about their artwork. We'll show you some of their artwork, but coming in September 16th and 17th is, and I'm going to refer to one of the artists over here in the room. Karen, when is the art tour? And what is the name of the art tour?
14 South Regional Art Tour.
14 South Regional Art Tour. But below is all the information, so enjoy this episode of Oregon Life, and thank you, Karen.
You're welcome.
I am Francine Tompkins, and I am an acrylic artist with 14 South Art Incorporated. I'm relatively new to the art world, so for those of you who say you can never do art, or maybe somebody told you at some point in time you can't draw or you can't paint, don't believe them. In 2019, during the polar vortex, I had been retired and was looking for something to occupy myself inside the house, and started looking at YouTube videos and became intrigued with acrylic pour technique. So I started out doing acrylic pours, and that is primarily the art form that I have been using over now the last 2.5, 3 years. That is a technique where you take acrylic paint and you mix it with a medium. I use something called Floetrol, which professional artists that are painting houses use. It thins the paint, but it doesn't compromise the color, so that they can put it in a sprayer and spray a house. So imagine I'm now mixing what is a thicker paint with a medium that makes it flow over any surface that I'm using. Typically I use either a canvas or tile. What I have found is that this is a technique where you have to give up control, which is actually turned into a great metaphor for life for me. And you need to let the paint do its thing and gently guide it. And that's been a lot of fun. Recently, I transitioned to a different form of acrylic painting, which is much more precise, and that is doing mandalas. That uses, again, acrylic paint. It's not thinned, but you use something called dotting tools, and it creates a design. It's based on a very ancient art form. And the biggest thing for me, both in creating mandalas as well as the acrylic pours, is for me first to start with my colors, what kinds of colors that I want to use in a painting. Then I am usually influenced by forms in nature, which probably most every artist will tell you has a huge influence in their art. So that is basically the type of art I have been working with. Recently I've been teaching some mandala classes, and it's been very exciting to see people get enthused. Again, oftentimes people saying, I can't do this, I'm not an artist. And at the end of the 2 hours, they've produced a beautiful piece of art. And if you're producing art, you are an artist.
Hello, my name is James Shulkin. I'm a self-taught mixed media artist. I live in the near west side of Madison, and I've been a member of the 14 South Artists Group for about 1.5 years. 14 South Artists is a really great organization. There's about 45 members, and very, very talented people who are very much committed to not only the arts, but to growing the organization and supporting the Oregon Art Center here in downtown Oregon. So I'm a mixed media artist, self-taught artist, in fact, and I've been making artwork for about 12, 13 years or so. We started making windmills out of bicycle parts and plastic tubs. And gradually I transitioned into making pieces out of found materials. Lately I've been making fish and bird sculptures. What I like about the fish and bird sculptures is I tend to incorporate as many organic materials as possible. So a lot of wood and botanicals, flowers and plant stems, pieces of wood that I find. And I create the fish and birds really out of just paper and very little paint. So mostly it's just paper and flowers and plant parts and I incorporate fabric as well. So I've been very proud of those. I like those very much. I think they're very whimsical, a lot of fun to look at, a lot of fun to make. Lately now I've been working on portraits using subjects that I find to be interesting people, sometimes famous, sometimes not, and making three-dimensional sculptures on board. Again, using paper mostly, fabric, and the core of all my sculptures is insulation foam, which is an interesting medium to work with. Not many people realize how much fun it is to carve and shape and create a real animate object. I will be participating in the 14 South Artists Regional Art Tour, and in fact will be hosting a site at my home on the near west side in Madison. So I hope you all come out and join us.
Hi, my name is Bonnie Shetsky. I'm a multidisciplinary artist living in Waukesha, Wisconsin. I joined 14 South Artists about just a little over a year ago, but you may be wondering what is a multidisciplinary artist. For me, that means I use many different mediums, and I choose the medium that best describes the content and the information that I'm trying to convey to the viewer. So traditionally, I'm trained as an intaglio printmaker and photographer. And with that, of course, you need to have drawing and painting skills. And so really it's from my printmaking that you see artists going into all kinds of different directions because it's such a versatile medium, because printmaking entails drawing, painting, photography, sculpture, and beyond. So that's where I come up as a multidisciplinary artist. So when it comes to my art, it's all about water and the habitat that surrounds it. Quite a few years ago, I went through some major medical issues, and I continually found myself going back to the berm of the Sugar River, just observing the water, observing wildlife and nature, and I found water to be very healing, not only from the sounds, but there's a ton of science behind it. And I started looking back again from graduate school, the work of Dr. Emoto, and he's a scientist who started freezing water and observing their water crystals. And so through prayer and speaking positive affirmations to the water, he could turn toxic water into beautiful rainbow symmetrical crystals. And so I just started thinking about that water, the power of water to just heal the body, to heal places, and how it's such a unique and important part of all of our livelihood. We're made 98% out of water, and then I start digging into biblical stories and the power of water, and so water is definitely my muse and my fascination. I love to sit and be on the water. That's my greatest piece, is just kayaking, sitting by a waterfall. So a lot of my work is waterfalls. It is water landscapes. It is the habitat that surrounds them. And so that is my art.
Watching this episode of Oregon Life.
Thanks for
right?
watching this
Episode of Oregon Life.